Hello, this is Dread from Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we're going to go over one of my new builds. This is going to be Judgment Javelin Spell Damage Over Time Paladin. But before we actually get into the video here, I would like to actually make a few announcements. This isn't what I normally do, but the first thing I would like to ask is, if you guys enjoy the videos and actually like the videos and actually enjoy the build guides, I would heavily suggest liking and commenting on the video, as that is the best way to support me by far, because YouTube loves the interaction and that's what they care about. And if that's all you guys do, I would be 100% satisfied. Also, as well, this is going to be an announcement of a change of video pace. So normally what I would do is I would wait until the fully finished build, right? And upload that build. Well, that's not going to be it no longer. So the new format is I'm going to get to level 90 monoliths, finish the first level 90 monolith with a character, and then I'll do a brief overview of what the character looks like at that time, as that allows you guys to understand what a character looks like right before empowered monolith gameplay, and then I'll do the full build guide right after, once I actually go through empowered monoliths and get some gearing and all that. So you guys can see what it looks like on a budget, like a realistic budget, and then you guys can see the finished product. As not only that would release some pressure off of me in terms of an upload schedule, it would also give you guys some insights on what my characters look like before they're finished. With that being said, let's get through the rest of the intro here. So the main idea of this build is we are scaling healing effectiveness. Why are we doing that? Well, the first thing off, for Javelin, the thing I used to level with, it has a node in it called Holy Trail. The way Holy Trail works is it leaves a trail of spell damage over time, where the Javelin was, where it travels, and it's like that burning stuff on the floor you see in the line. Now, this damage is lightning and fire at the same time, so it's like divided between half and half. So you definitely want to just scale with percentage elemental damage over time affixes. And as well, there is a node after that that gives you 1% more damage with it per percent of healing effectiveness. This line also heals you as well, and it heals you for a very large and significant amount. This build is rather tanky, even at 1600 life at the current moment, because of the fact that I can literally stand in almost anything and not die. The only things that have come anywhere close to killing me has been the Chapter 9 mobs, and obviously, if you understand the current state of the Chapter 9 mobs, you'd understand why. Now, other than that, we're also using Judgment. So, Judgment used to not work. What does that mean? Well, Judgment has an ability called Consecrated Ground. It is a little AoE. It deals fire damage over time, but the issue was the base damage was 7, and it's not a spell. It's not anything. It's just a damage over time fire ability. Like, it has no spell tag. It's not a melee tag, although that contradicts itself later, as we'll show. But as well, there's used to be no way of scaling that base damage, but now, as a base, it gains it is increased multiplicatively by healing effect instead of having like an added flat. So it works a little bit differently. So normally what you do with a spell or in a melee attack, you'd add adaptives or flat melee physical damage to it to make it deal more damage in terms of flat. This build is not like that. So instead of stacking flat, you're stacking healing effectiveness. Healing effectiveness is effectively your flat. So for instance, in the current state of the build, I have about 800% healing effectiveness with my Consecrated Ground. That brings up the base damage, quote unquote, up to about like 64-ish flat fire damage, and you can get this up much, much higher, as 600% is a pathetic amount of healing effectiveness and will grow much larger once I actually get some idols. Now, that's how you scale the base damage. That used to not work last patch, and now it does. Now, I was asking in the devs about Consecrated Ground, in the Ask for Devs channel in the Discord, and Mike was like, Mike, one of the lead developers, he was like, oh, I'm not sure if it'll be endgame viable, and I took that personally. So I decided we're going to actually make it endgame viable, and that is what I'm currently doing. Now, one cool thing about the Consecrated Ground is it is affected by one of the best new nodes in Judgment. This node allows you to consume your entire mana bar, 100% of your mana, and gives you 2% more damage per flat mana you have. So for instance, in the video we have 367 mana. We're going to simplify that to 350 because I'm tired. So if we have 350 flat mana and we consume it all with Judgment's node, which we do, right? We'll get 700% more damage with the Consecrated Ground. And this scales even farther the more mana we get, as, obviously flat mana is really strong right now, especially for a paladin. Now, in the end, we'll probably have around like 500-ish flat mana, I believe, something like it, somewhere around there. But yeah, that allows you to deal an insane amount of damage. Now, normally, you would just use that to one-shot things with Judgment, but you actually can apply that to the damage over time Consecrated Ground effect, and that allows you to actually scale it into endgame. Now, you must be wondering, if we're consuming our entire mana bar, then how are we sustaining mana? We're a paladin, we don't have access to mana regen. Well, let me introduce you to Volatile Reversal. If you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, you'll know that Volatile Reversal has had its muddy past. It used to be bugged, it used to not provide the mana back on use like it used to do. So the way it works is when you use it, you gain the mana and health that you had 2 seconds ago. So for instance, if you use a attack and go from full mana to 0 mana, but then use Volatile Reversal, it will place you back 2 seconds in time, quote unquote, with your full mana bar because it was before you even spent your mana. And we're completely abusing that with Judgment because we're consuming our mana, but then we're instantly pressing Volatile Reversal. It also has a few other uses, i.e. the 90% more damage thanks to 90% increased damage taken from enemies, and we're also utilizing the newly buffed Atrophy Gloves. If you don't know, Atrophy Gloves are the common drop, 90% drop rate on regular Rye, the Void Bird. Now, this used to be a useless pair of gloves because all it did was just give you slow, like duration. And I'll be honest, it's not the most desirable stat ever. But they added a line to it this patch that makes it so that all of your damage over time has 24% penetration. That is very strong for a build like this that has lack of access to Fire Shred. As you can tell in the video, I'm barely hitting at all, if not ever, which means that Fire Shred is completely useless for me. So we actually get our damage over time scaling in terms of penetration from this. And there's really no other way of making the Consecrated Ground penetrate other than, obviously the normal sources of penetration, like inside the Paladin tree, and of course on your amulet prefix. So this is pretty much like best in slot for a lot of builds that don't run Salt the Wounds, which I did just drop. So get ready for Bleed Warpath 2.0, by the way. But yeah, with that being said, let's get into the game, shall we? So I can explain some few things. All right, here we are in game with the character. The name is Stronghold Crusader. If you did not know, that's my favorite childhood game. It's an RTS. It's based around, building castles and stuff. And as we're a paladin going on a crusade, I thought that, that would be the perfect name. Now, like I said, the main idea is so the main loop is we hit something with Javelin, we hit it with Shield Bash, and then we Judgment. Now, this is doing 80,000 damage, right? But a friend of mine, Additional Baker, one of the people that was assisting me with the build, he actually showed me that you can actually do a lot more damage with this, about to like 500,000. It was kind of funny because I actually got in C with him and he was showing me the build, and I actually told him about how Shield Bash actually affects your Consecrated Ground for some odd reason, and he went from 100k DPS on the dummy with this Consecrated Ground to 500k. So it made it so I probably wanted to make this video, right? So we're going to get into the skills real quick. We're just going to do a quick overview. We're not going to go super in depth, as that will be in the next video, right? The main things we're utilizing here is we're making Consecrated Ground stay with us as an aura, right? The reason why that is so that, it follows us. So when walking on things, they die. It helps our single target significantly. Then, of course, we're running Pious Offering. So this just consumes all of our mana whenever Judgment and gives us 1% more mana, 2% more damage per mana. It's absolutely insane because you can stack a lot of mana on Sentinel. And thanks to Volatile Reversal, you don't have to care about sustaining your mana, as you can tell. So that's the main thing working with Judgment. Everything else is just damage, mainly damage. Then Javelin here, there's a node here called Holy Trail. This is what provides this damage over time stuff, and this does heal you for a very significant amount thanks to the fact that we have an incredible ton of healing effectiveness. Then this also does damage, but it also gets affected by Path of Judgment, which makes it so we deal more damage per percentage of healing effectiveness. So for instance, we have 549% healing effectiveness, meaning we do 549% damage, literally quintupling our damage. Really strong. We grab 3 nodes into Pilgrimage, so since we're actually doing a lightning / fire thing, we're actually making fire and lightning more percent damage, right? So that's just 45% more damage. Then the reason why we want to Javelin and hit something before is because we actually have Sacred Forge. It'll give us our next Judgment 60% more damage once we hit something, right? Our next Judgment, as you can tell with this little bar down here, which allows us to do even more damage, right? Now, Volatile Reversal, this is your stereotypical ailment Volatile Reversal setup. Usual shenanigans. We don't grab the Warp Time, mainly because our attack speed literally doesn't matter, so we don't grab it. Holy Aura, there's nothing too crazy here. Mainly, we're running Redemption for increased healing. That's 40% healing effectiveness. We get the Fire Pen here, which is really strong because if we actually press Holy Aura, we get 20% instead of just 10%. So this is a lot of our pen for Consecrated Ground. And that's pretty much it for Holy Aura. Everything else is your stereotypical Holy Aura setup. Then, of course, for Shield Bash here. So this is where it gets dumb. So this note here, Shield Bash causes your next melee attack to deal more fire damage. So since it says your next melee attack to deal more fire damage, Judgment is a melee attack. You did not know. And then the thing that comes out of it is a damage over time, right? But it's part of the main skill. It's not a different skill. Consecrated Ground is the same skill as Judgment, even though it has like a tooltip here for some reason, right? So pretty much with that. So for instance, if I Shield Bash something, right, I believe actually affected. I don't think it's or not. Yeah, it does affect it. I can show you here. Well, take my word for it. It does work. It's a lot of damage, right? And everything else is just like shenaniganry. And we were grabbing more block chance. So when we do use Shield Bash, we get a bit more block chance. I actually messed up on the tree a little bit. Actually, that, and we're probably going to grab that so that we can actually grab all 5 points of protective impact. Because we are a block build, the main reason we are is because utilizing the spell damage from here, Heaven Fire, because our Consecrated Ground is not affected by spell damage, but our Javelin is. So we need to scale it to have spell damage to make it so both kinds of damage are capable. And the combination of the two allows you to clear monoliths with relative ease. And one beautiful thing about Consecrated Ground is the healing. We get 50 healing per second, but that's multiplied by our healing effectiveness. So Judgment gets 4% healing effectiveness per attunement, so add that on top of the 549% we have here. That's about like 700% healing effectiveness. So we're healing for about 350 health per second whenever we have the healing up. But then that's also modified by Sanctified Serenity here, which is more health. So it's a multiple modifier with all of your healing effectiveness. So now it's giving us like about 500 is health per second, which is really strong considering we only have like 1600 life. We'll have 2k later on. Same thing with Javelin. Javelin heals for a significant amount. So for instance, Javelin heals for like, I don't know actually how much it heals for. It doesn't say. Yeah, it doesn't tell you how much it heals you for, which is a little sad. But It is a lot. Javelin heals you for a lot. Like if you're standing on this trail while also having the Judgment aura up, you can actually tank like diamond matrons and stuff, which is absolutely positively disgusting. And for gearing, that's important. Like I said in the video, atrophy is very important, as this is like SSF farmable because it's from Rye. It's the normal drop from Rye. The 24% penetration is just a lot of damage for us. You want to stack as much healing effectiveness on gear as you can tell, as much mana on your gears as you can tell, because each flat mana is 2% more damage. And same thing with healing effectiveness. Each flat healing effectiveness is like 1% more damage. Then, of course, everything else is just elemental damage over time. I do not have 2x2 healing effect idols. They are very, very, very strong. I have none of them yet, and that's why my idols look so fucked up. But we'll have healing effect idols. Don't worry. But with that being said, that's pretty much it for the build. Like I said, there will be a much more detailed explanation in the next video, which I hope you will show up for. That being said, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day wherever you're at, and bye.